Now let's turn our attention to Queensland, where nearly 50 fires continue to burn. At least 100 people have spent the night in evacuation shelters as reports of further property losses emerge. For more, we're joined by reporter Alison Horn from Yeppoon in central Queensland. Good morning, Alison. Tell us what went on there over the last 24 hours.
Elisa, this is still the fire of main concern for authorities here in central Queensland, but the conditions overnight have been quite lucky for firefighters. Lower temperatures, higher humidities, a drop in the wind, and that's really been those sort of favourable conditions that authorities have been hoping for to try and get a handle on this blaze. It was multiple blazes yesterday, but it's now joined into one giant fire front, and as you mentioned, there has been a number of properties that have been lost. We know at least 3 homes have been completely destroyed here in the Cobrable area. A dozen or so more structures have been affected, including sheds, machinery and livestock as well. This is a farming region, so there will be a lot of heartache for residents when they finally get to return home. But just when that will be, we still don't know. This fire has now been downgraded from an emergency level warning, but it is still certainly not under control. It is not within containment lines. Authorities, though, are hopeful that with an ease in conditions today, they may be able to get on top of it.
Alison, we're looking at these pictures of the smoke during the day yesterday, and even behind you, it looks like there's a lot of smoke in the air still. We think about fires as being that immediate burning threat, but of course there's so much else that goes into it. The authorities were telling us more car accidents because of the smoke, and also breathing difficulties. What are you hearing?
Well, as you can see, it is so thick here this morning. It's coating your nose and your throat. It's stinging my eyes as I'm out here. And this is in Yeppoon. We're still several kilometres away from the fire front. So that should give you a bit of an understanding of just how big and intense this fire has been to produce this amount of smoke that is really blanketing the Yeppoon city and the surrounding areas today. And there have been warnings issued by Queensland Health for people who have respiratory issues to stay indoors, and this will give you an idea of why it is so thick. It is really just hanging in a blanket over the city at the moment, and it's not expected to dissipate anytime soon. So when you're talking about the other dangers that come along with these bushfires, it's really understandable of why people are being urged to stay off the roads if they don't need to stay indoors, because this is actually quite a dangerous situation with this sort of a smoke condition here too.
Hey, Alison, someone was messaging in before saying that the volunteer firefighters hadn't been asking for food, they'd been asking for eye drops. You've given me a real indication of why that might be necessary, and that's what they were asking to be sent. I imagine that they are feeling pretty exhausted. We're trying to give a bit of a shout out to those volunteer firefighters today because, as has been repeated, they are the familiar face. Often their own homes could be at threat while they're saving someone else's homes. How are they holding up?
And that's the situation that's unfolded here. We saw yesterday a property that has actually been largely affected, some shed and machinery that has been destroyed, and that was the home of a volunteer firefighter. And so these people who are out there literally saving other people's lives and trying to protect other people's properties while in their own backyard it's being destroyed, it's just the sort of remarkable heroism that can only be imagined for somewhere like these sort of places. And you can tell that the residents here are so incredibly grateful. Every time they see that yellow of the uniform walking through town, there's big smiles and cheers, and people just want to go up and say thank you to them. And you can understand why. People here are incredibly weary. They've been battling this blaze for more than 48 hours. And as you said, there's still 47 fires burning across Queensland at this point in time. And we're expecting those really strong winds and dry, hot conditions to pick up today and tomorrow. And so it appears that there'll be even more fires throughout the week.
33,000 volunteers in Queensland covering 93% of the state. Alison Horn, thank you for your reporting.